All right, if you stop by because you've been dying to know if a $6 palette from Temu is a dupe of a $65 palette from Natasha Denona, then you're in the right place and keep on watching. All right, I finally did it. My eyeshadow today is done using each of these palettes. One of the eyes is Temu. One of the eyes is Natasha Denona. Can you tell or do you know which palette is on which eye? I will zoom in so you can take a look, think about that, and then I'm going to roll into doing the try on, and I'll be very curious to see if you could tell which of the eyes has the Natasha Denona. For your guessing, you can say the side with the Wygo Warrior or the side with the candle. I know sometimes left, right, backwards when I'm filming camera angles. So just say the Wygo side or the candle side. All right, let's get into the try on. So I have a full face of makeup on with the exception of eyeshadow. On one side of my face, I'm going to be using the Natasha Denona Retro Palette, and I'll be using this set of brushes here, which are clear and white. The white ones are Morphe 2 and clear handled, I don't know, random brushes from BoxyCharm. With the Temu Glam Palette, I'm going to be using brushes from Rephr. That way we can make sure there isn't any cross-contamination. But if you see black, it means the Temu palette, and white or clear is Natasha Denona. Now the Temu palette did arrive slightly broken, so I'm not going to be holding it up as much, or I guess I can just hold it like this. The Natasha Denona palette also arrived to me kind of broken, but not as bad. So bear with me if I struggle to hold either palette up. The Temu palette is going to be on this eye here. So you can think of it where you see my Wygo brush holder. That is the Temu side. And where my candle is, this will be the Natasha Denona side. The shades are laid out actually the same. They are slightly different, but one for one, they are, the dupe shade is matching the layout in the Natasha Denona palette. I'm going to hold up the Natasha Denona. Just know it's the same as the Temu. I'm going to start with this shade here in the crease. And that shade is called Nude Mauve. By the way, I have the clean canvas from Gerard Cosmetics on both of my eyes. Thought, why not use an eye primer? All right, there is Natasha Denona. And here we are using the same shade, no name, over from the Glam Temu palette. I'm going to call it the Temu palette. It actually has a different name, different brand, Tingphe or something, but I won't remember that. So if I call it the Temu palette, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so far, so good. Now, keep in mind, I'm not an MUA, and typically when I do my eye look, they're always sisters, not twins, but the tones are very, very similar. I'm going to take same brush, same shade, and smoke out my under lash line. I'm already panicking that I'm going to grab the wrong brush or dive into the wrong palette. All right, let's move on to a slightly deeper shade and darken up the outer corners. All right, I want a little more cool toned look, and I'm going to go in with this shade here. Just going to tap it right on the edge and bring whatever's left, kind of marry it into the crease with that first shade, and then go back in a little bit and smoke out just the outer third of the lower lash line. Now keep in mind, if you see something that looks like it's patchy, it's not. I have wrinkly kind of extra skin here. It's lovely aging when you're 56, so I always struggle to get that to look good, but that's just my skin being all puffy and whatnot. Ignore it. Not the shadow nor my application. It's genetics. Alright, in the Temu palette, I'm going to take the same shade. By the way, if I haven't mentioned it yet, there are no names for the shades in the Temu palette. I must say the Temu shade is much more pigmented. Also, my brush is slightly different, so I'm going to grab another brush that doesn't have anything and see if I can't blend it out. To match the eye look, I'm going to go back in, same shade, same brush as before, and try to deepen this up slightly. You know, even though they aren't twins, we want the sisters to look alike. I also went up a little higher, so let's blend, blend, blend. And I'm going to take this shade here in the center, which is called Psychedelic. I'm going to use my pinky and put this on the center portion of my lid. I love shades like that. I'm not ambidextrous, so I'm going to need to use the same pinky. I'm going to take a makeup wipe and make sure all of that product is off. It's clean. I'm going to take a, what do you call these? It's like a makeup towelette, dry it off, and then go into that same shade in the center. It does look slightly different. This looks a little darker and actually feels a little, not quite as soft or smooth, but I'm going to put this on the other eye in the same place, smack dab in the middle. Alright, normally if I'm doing my makeup, I'd be done. But because we're doing kind of like a side-by-side, I'm going to grab a few more colors. But I think this is a beautiful, beautiful look. I'm going to take this shade here, which is called Andy, and just going to put a little on the outer corner-ish, but kind of in slightly. Just right here, I guess, I don't know what you call that. Not quite the center, but in the outer third. Just think of a little pop of pinky mauve color right here. I'm going to do the same on the other eye in the Temu palette. Again, way more color or payoff or pigment in the Temu palette. So I'm going to just grab that same fluffy brush I was using before just to blend everything so that it matches. And I'm going to do the same over here, although it doesn't need it as much. Just want them to look more similar. Now I'm going to take this shade here, which is Swing, and just, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to add a little right there, just on the corner. See if I can get a little bit of that kind of plum shade. And do the same with the Temu palette. Now I'm going to go back into that center shade and use that as a shimmer on the brow bone. And do the same on the Temu side. I must say, I wish I did have the exact same brush sets, because sometimes when the brush is different, it makes me question if that's having any effect on the eye look. I'm not satisfied on either side with how blingy, shimmery the tops of my lids are. So I'm going to go back into that middle shade, but I'm going to wet the brushes this time. This here is from Tarte. It's the Maracuja Miracle Mist. Just going to dampen the brush and just get some extra shimmer going. Oh yes. It's amazing how much wetting your brush can make a shimmer really stand out and sparkle. And rinse and repeat for the Temu side. Now, to be fair, in order to get the sides to match, I'm going to be careful. This shimmer here, the broken one, has a more pink tone, whereas this is a lighter. I dipped slightly into that just because I really wanted the color story to match. Now, in neither palette do I feel there is a shade or pan that would make a good inner corner. So I'm just going to use this palette here from Ofra. It's the X's and Glows highlighter palette, and I'm just going to go in on both sides using the same shade. All right, I'm going to pop off camera, do my eyeliner, touch up my mascara, and then I'll be back and give my final thoughts. All right, I hope I did a good job doing this dupe side-by-side comparison. Leave me a comment and let me know what your guess was and what you think. Do you think these are dupes? Honestly, I think for $6, this Temu palette worked fantastic. Now, there was one shade, which is the broken one, I don't want to hold it up, that actually it had a little more pigment than the middle shade. There is a great topper. The one in the Natasha Denona had slightly more pink, and I just wanted my eye looks to look the same, so I did, I don't know if you call it cheat, I did go into that shade, which proves my point. You can get the same eye look using this palette. Is this palette worth the $65, $68? Yeah, it's an awesome palette, and I love the color story. But if you want that color story and don't want to spend that kind of money, I would say you'd be perfectly fine using this palette. I'm very curious if this palette is available elsewhere or if you have to get it through Temu. If I find any information, it will float on screen. All right, I want to thank each and every one of you for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't done so by now, I would love if you would subscribe. For those who have, thank you so much. Remember to click the bell icon so you can be notified of future videos. And if you could do me a huge favor, if you would click that thumbs up, it really does help with my channel to grow. All right, thanks everyone.